Just as the OLED Switch pre-orders were going live, Valve dropped a bomb. The Steam Deck is Valve's answer to the Switch, out in December, just 2 months after the OLED Nintendo Switch. I think Nintendo knew something. 7-inch touchscreen on this thing. Check this out. This is potentially the Switch OLED killer. This is almost like the Switch Pro. I mean, it's going to be playing probably all of the third-party games and more. It just won't run Nintendo games. No Breath of the Wild sequel on this. I mean, unless you mod it out. But check it out. See what this is all about. You've got the thumbsticks. You've got, I mean, the layout is very similar. You've got the trackpad. So you actually have 2 trackpads on this thing. And you know, it's gonna be built into Steam. And so, but look at the price point on this thing, because this is very curious. Okay, I think, let me know what you think, but I think Nintendo knew about this. I think that's why we got a random Switch OLED in October. I think they were getting ahead of this thing, although they weren't really ahead of it. But look at the price point too. $400 for a 64GB internal storage. So it's only $50 more. Now I know Nintendo fans aren't going to be running to this thing, right? You can't get Mario on this system. So that is the big benefit to Nintendo. But, you know, those people that do get Switch so that they can play the Skyrim, the Witcher, the Borderlands, what have you, portable. That's always, you know, the thing that tips someone over the edge to get the Switch version, is always like, hey, I'll pay a little bit more. I'll take the downgrade because now I can play it portable. That's not going to be as much of a thing anymore. And so this really, at $400, this is really taking a little bit of that spotlight away from Nintendo, where Nintendo, they don't usually compete right with high power. Nintendo doesn't care about high power. What they compete with are their good quality games, their ecosystem, and their low price point. Well, at $350, you know, it's only $50 more to get this Steam Deck. Okay, and so it becomes a little bit, what I hope for is, I think this is going to put a little bit of pressure on Nintendo. Let me know what you all think, but I think this means we're getting a Switch Pro a little faster than we may have thought. Now, I could be wrong on that, of course. There may not even be a Switch Pro, but if there is something like a Switch that's better, I hope and think this will put a little bit of pressure on Nintendo, because for the first time in I think forever, Nintendo is actually getting third-party support in a big way right now with Switch. I think this might hurt that. I think if a company's making a really nice game that needs some decent specs, and if this thing, the Steam Deck, has a decent user base, well, I mean, they're going to be favoring the Steam Deck versus the Switch, where they have to actually do a whole new development process to get the game to run a whole different version on Switch, like developers have been doing for forever, basically, ever since the N64, at least to my knowledge, having to make different versions of games that are a little lower spec'd. Look at this. Look at the specs on this thing, okay? GPU right there. Look at your RAM. I mean, you've got 1280 by 800 1610 aspect ratio. Now they've got LCD. It's not OLED, but it's 7 inches, just like the Switch is. Now you can also, right here, check this out. You can, if you do want to pay a ridiculous amount of money, you can, and people will. $530 for a 256GB. Now that's SSD storage, so that's going to be a little bit faster. And then you can pay $650 for a 500 gig with anti-glare etched glass screen. Now here's the thing here. You can use an SD card, so you can expand the storage. So I think really, I think most people can be getting one of these, because you can expand that storage. But yeah, this also makes you wonder, you know, when Nintendo does make a Pro, are they going to have different gigabytes, different storage? You know, how much will this influence Nintendo to go ahead and make the Pro? And, you know, will they make different storage sizes like this? Now, I know they don't, like I said, they don't really compete usually with the PC kind of vibes. But Nintendo is going to be wanting to retain that market share that they have really expanded to by having the third-party support that they have had. You can see here on the screenshots, they've got Doom Eternal, they've got Control. It's gonna have a lot of games that you can actually get on Switch. And so that's where it makes it a little bit weird, because I mean, if you've got a choice, if you're playing these third-party games, I mean, you're gonna go for the stream. I keep wanting to call it Stream Deck. That's by Elgato. No, you're gonna want to go for the Steam Deck. The owner's entire Steam library will be available when they log on, and there's even a dock, which is sold separately. So that's something that you do need to consider there. That will be an extra charge. And the controllers are not detachable like the Joy-Con, so there are some differences here, some things where Nintendo still will be a benefit at that price point. Reservations open up on Friday, July 16th. Here's something interesting too. This is kind of a pro and a con, but it really is more of a pro, way more of a pro. Look at this. So to reserve it, you need to pay Valve $5 to reserve a spot in line. And they say the reason is essentially to ensure an orderly and fair ordering process. So they are actually trying to help combat against scalpers to an extent. And it's very, very important these days, especially if you look at the OLED Switch pre-orders, which were, up for just a split second at a lot of places and just disappeared. This is an awesome thing that they're doing to help try and combat that just a little bit. So anyways, let me know what your thoughts are about this. If you got any questions about it, are you going to be picking one of these up? Are you going to be picking up an OLED Switch? Are you going to be picking up a Steam Deck? Let me know what you think. I will be getting an OLED Switch and unboxing it on my channel, definitely. But yeah, this is very interesting. Let me know what you think.